Hello and welcome to today's edition of Caddy's Corner. We are off on a Sunday walking. It's quite a beautiful, wintry, little bit of briskness in the air, but quite a lovely Sunday afternoon here. Today I wanted to talk about treading water. So when I worked at the pool and I was a lifeguard, I also taught swimming lessons and coached the swim team. I was the assistant coach for the whole team and then the coach for the 8 and unders. I learned a lot in those days. I talked about the lifeguarding version back in the early days of my 50 to 50. But today I wanted to talk about treading water because it's one of the things you have to be able to do. I can't remember if it was 30 or 45 minutes we had to do for the lifeguard test. But it's an amount of time, and there's, they teach you how to do it. There's a certain scissor kick you're supposed to use. And they're coaching you through how to do it, and it's like, this leg out that way and this leg out that way, and you have to circle them, and do this whole thing, and I just never could quite get it. And then there's a thing you do with your arms where you kind of wave them across the water, and there's a pattern to it. And I could never really nail it and never really stay afloat, and I was expending a lot of energy. And the thing is, if you don't figure out how to get the physics of it right, where you're pressing on the water the right way, it's exhausting. And then there's a secondary version of it when you're lost out at sea and no help's on the way. We called it a Deadman's float. It's also called a survival float, where you put your face down in the water, hang your arms and legs as limp as you can to expend the least amount of energy, and just lift your head to breathe. Fill your lungs up as much as you can because that helps you float. Easier to float on your stomach than your back, but harder to breathe when your face is in the water. So, and when there's waves crashing in your face, it can be very hard, but in a pool, not so hard. So when I was teaching kids to swim, the little nuggets, one of the things you want to do is get them to learn to jump into the water, and they have to have enough confidence that they know that they can, swim their way back to the wall. And it's a real confidence boosting thing, and a way to kind of up the game on that is to get them to jump off the diving board, the low board. So I would go in the deep end, which was one of the pluses of the plus-shaped pool, and I would tread water and kick, and they would be standing maybe a foot back from the end of the board, freaking out, and I'd be like, no, I got you, I'm right here, I'm gonna catch you. And I had a technique where they'd come at me, I'd catch them up under the shoulders, and I would hold them up as I would get dropped down a little bit. They were little kids, so I'd just kick my legs up and get them right up to the surface and hold on to them, and we'd swim over to the ladder and hug and high five and celebrate that they'd done it. And after a few times, usually they were jumping off and swimming to the ladder themselves because it was super close. It was just like bloop in the pool, boop over to the ladder. There was this one kid, probably closer to 8 years old, and he was a big boy, and he was terrified of that low board, and he would cry, and we had tried multiple times, and he would just walk back off the board. And I kept saying to him, it's okay, you can do it when you're ready, but he had to trust me. He had to trust me before he's going to learn to trust himself. And by the way, happy version of the story is he did learn to jump off the diving board and swim over to the side of the pool, and he was a pretty adept swimmer after I worked with him. But the very first time I got him to jump, I had been treading water probably close between the whole class, maybe 25-30 minutes, but it's not just treading for the sake of treading. I was treading, catching kids, going under, kicking back up, talking to them while I'm treading. Hey, you got this, you can do it, I'm right here, blah, blah, blah. And this kid, I had to talk to him for it felt like 10 minutes. It might have been 5, but I was already tired, physically and emotionally. But I knew he was so close. He had actually gotten to the edge, just sort of jump leapt a little bit, and he just wouldn't do it. I'm like, come on, you got this. And I remember when he landed on me, I nearly went down to the bottom of the deep end. And I knew that if I messed this up, he was never going to trust me or himself or any other adult again, because I swore to him I wouldn't let him go under the water. And so I came popping up, and he'd gone down a little bit, but I leapt him up out and then got up behind him, and we both got over the ladder. We're both panting. And I just looked over at him, and I was like, you okay? I'm so sorry that your head went under the water. He was like, no, that's fine. That was awesome, let's do it again. And so he went straight from the epic fear of death, from jumping off the low board into the deep end to this is so much fun. And that was a game changer. In a minute, that kid went from kind of petrified of everything to like, I got this and it's fun. I didn't even really mean to tell that version of the story because I guess it's part of what I'm doing now too, but I learned that I could tread water for a really long time. And especially when I was just doing it for a clock, I wasn't that good at it. When I had to do it for those kids and what they meant to me, what I knew learning to swim would mean to them, because I had a very bad swimming teacher when I first started out who actually dunked me under the water to try to show me that there was nothing to be afraid of. So I was very compassionate with my kids who were afraid in a way that other teachers were never compassionate with me. I became the teacher that I wished I'd had. So in this life today, I have been treading water for a really long time. And I'll tell you what, when you're treading water, there is no time to be inspired about a ballet you want to do or what you're going to cook for dinner. You are just literally trying to focus on moving your arms back and forth and kicking your legs in order to keep your head up so you don't drown for as long as humanly possible. And as I was thinking about doing this post today, it's why the Deadman's float came up to me, because there have been days I've been so hard on myself about these days where I have slugged out and not been able to leave my bed. And in those moments of time, I was Deadman floating. I just couldn't anymore. And there's more to be said about this next thing, but truth of the matter is, I believed the Disney movies, and I believed a lot of incorrect assumptions I'd been taught in life. Excuse me, to wait for my knight in shining armor, for my Prince Charming, for someone to rescue me, for the hero of the story to arrive. But I'm 50 now, and I recognize that I am the hero of my own story. That if I want to keep my head afloat, I have to be the one to tread water. But that just treading water for other people and waiting for something to come save me, that's not it. But if I add together the fact that I know how to tread water, do a Deadman's float, swim underwater for a really long time, sword fight, bookkeep, professionally organize things, bartend, I can work in offices, I can work in bars, I can do a lot of things, and I can do a lot of things well. I don't do much well when I'm bored. Forget about it. It's virtually impossible for me to pay attention for 5 minutes. But if I'm inspired, get out of my way. I'm a force of nature. That's why theater worked for me, because it was the highs and lows of it. I'd never quite learned how to find the middle ground, and it crashed me. So I'm not doing that career again either. So now I'm asking a big question. What do I want to do? What do I want to do? And how can I swim to the side of the pool and hang on to the ladder and then get out and make the next decisions for myself instead of just treading water? Anyway, I'm going to leave it there, waiting for my bus, and I hope y'all have a fantastic Sunday. Got beautiful weather. I hope most y'all are seeing that too. And we'll do it again when we do it. All right. Thanks for joining me in Caddyland. Bye.